Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my reading rush TBR. This is a readathon that takes place from the 20th to the 26th of July and it's hosted by Ariel and Raeleen. It used to be called the Booktubeathon, and it's basically a week-long readathon to try and read as much as you possibly can. So I thought it'd be fun to participate. I'm going to attempt to vlog it, so let's just get into it. So the first prompt is to read a book that's cover matches the colour of your birthstone. My birthstone is emerald because I was born in May, so that means I need a book that has got a green cover. I actually struggle with this because the books I have that have green covers aren't necessarily the ones I wanted to be reading for a readathon, or the ones that I do aren't actually emerald green, so it's a bit difficult. For example, I have Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which is one of my options for this, but this is not very emerald, it's very much a bright lime green. But this is an option. It's a romance story, so it should be quite easy to get through. It follows a hate to love romance that takes place at a Renaissance fair. So this is one of my options if I'm in the mood for romance. However, I have been more in the mood for fantasy recently, but fantasy tends to take me longer to get through, so I do have some green options for fantasy. The first fantasy option I have is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I've been wanting to read this for years and I finally got my hands on a copy. It follows a princess who is supposed to be getting married to a prince, and on the day of her wedding she runs away, and then it follows the assassin that's been hired to track her down, as well as the prince. And it's like a love triangle, but we don't know who is the assassin and who is the prince. So I think this would be quite a fun read because it's got a nice mix of fantasy and romance. And the final one for the first prompt as an option is probably the one I'm most in the mood for, but it's also the biggest one, so it's probably not the one I should choose. And that's The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is the prequel to the Hunger Games series, and this follows President Snow. I have heard very mixed things about this, but I just remember Suzanne Collins' writing style to be something that I absolutely fly through, so this is another option for me. The second prompt is to read a book that starts with the word the, and for this I'm going to try and read The Library of the Unwritten by AJ Hackwith. This is on my July TBR, so I do need to get to this one. And again, I don't really know very much about this one, but I'm very excited to give it a read. This is one of the challenges that I could definitely double up on my books for though, because The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes could also work for that, The Kiss of Deception, and some of the other books that I've mentioned later on in my TBR. The third prompt is to read a book inspired by a movie you've already seen. This one I actually really struggled with because I tend to always read the book before I watch the movie, but one of the ones on my TBR that I haven't is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I've already seen the film and I loved the film, and the film actually was the reason I picked this book up because I'm not usually into sci-fi, and this is following alien invasions, and I just didn't think that would be something I would be into. But the film I absolutely adored, which I think is kind of an unpopular opinion, so I am interested to check this one out. Also it starts with the, so again I can double up on this and use it for the book that starts with the word the. For the next prompt, the challenge is to read the first book you touch. Now I did do this twice to give myself some options. I did it on my fantasy shelf and then on my contemporary shelf. So the one I'm leaning towards is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, which is the sequel to Six of Crows. I am definitely in the mood to read this, but it's definitely a very thick book and it will take me a while to get through. So I'm thinking this one might be one of the ones that I read a little every day and try and read another book alongside it all the time, because I am very excited for this one. And then the one that I picked on my contemporary shelf was Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. All I really know is that it's kind of like Bridget Jones's Diaries, following a black woman's life in London. So I am very interested for this one as well. I've heard great reviews for it, but I think I'm leaning more towards Crooked Kingdom, which I don't understand why because this is a lot smaller, but I'm just in a fantasy mood at the moment. Now for the fifth prompt, the challenge is to read a book completely outside your house. Because I'm from England, the weather is very unpredictable, so I just chose the smallest book I have on my TBR, which is actually a play called Escaped Alone by Carol Churchill. I have seen this play already and it was brilliant, This is literally a 40-page script, so I'll be able to read this in one sitting, probably outside. So that is why I chose this one. The 6th prompt is read a book in a genre that you've always wanted to read more of. And for that one, I'm going to choose The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is classified as dark academia. I've never read any dark academia, but I think I would really love it. And I've heard great things about this book, so I'm very excited to check it out. It also starts with the. There's also some of the other books on my TBR that could fit in this challenge instead, such as The Fifth Wave, because it is sci-fi. But this one I just am really intrigued to read, and it's also on my top 10 books to read in 2020, so I would like to check it off. The 7th prompt is to read a book that it takes place on a different continent than where you live. Since I live in Europe, pretty much all of the books I've already said could fit because most of them are set in America, but I wanted to choose one that's completely different kind of culture. So I chose Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, which is actually set in Korea. It has a lot of Korean mythology intertwined throughout the book, so I'm very excited to read this one. I've heard nothing but great things. It follows a Gumiho, which is a 9-tailed fox, and she consumes the energy of men to stay alive. That's all I really know, that's all I want to know. If I don't finish that one, because I don't foresee myself finishing 7 books in a week, I can always just choose one of the other books because they mostly take place in a different continent. Let me know in the comments if you are planning on participating in the reading rush, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!